with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FANation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show where we look at the Wednesday 9-game main slate. It is going to be an interesting slate, a wild slate because, well, the NBA trade deadline is tomorrow. We've already seen big names on the move. We've seen bigger names in the rumor mills, and then we just now, as we go live, see a name on the move. Jonas Valanciunas, someone that Grande speculated on the preview show could be traded, was traded to an interesting spot. The Sacramento Kings continuing to field the trade markets there, acquiring Jonas Valanciunas. Washington sending out their center. I guess we have Richaun Holmes potentially now tonight as a starting center. Maybe we see Marvin Bagley activated. Like, I don't know what they're going to do at the front court.
Bagley is hurt.
Is he hurt? Or is
he's hurt? He's been out. He's hurt.
Well, I know he's been out. I wasn't sure how hurt he was. If he's just been.
He hasn't played since December 23rd.
So yeah, there was a recent update on him. That's why I was wondering where we had if there was even a possibility. But I don't know. They made another trade today. They traded Kuzma, right? 131 just says out. Maybe. I don't know. Returned on court work. I have no idea. We'll see what happens with Bagley. But it's Richaun Holmes Day anyways. We'll probably see more trades go through. I mean, again, we've had a ton of names thrown around today. You got to have your notifications on. You got to build late lineups maybe even to like have some flexibility with how you're going to move around with the names on the board here today. Because it could certainly have more movement on this 9-game slate that start 7 p.m. You have 3 7 p.m. games on this slate for an early roster lock. The DraftKings slate runs to 9 p.m. There's 2 more games if you play over on FanDuel, where Kevin Durant could be traded. He ruled out tonight with an injury in quotation marks.
He did. He sprained his ankle.
Yeah, I know. I'm just making jokes, because they have the rumors of trade deadlines, even though now apparently he is not wanting to go to Golden State. So we'll see what happens with that situation here. So appreciate all of you who have tuned in. Again, should be a wild next day and a half with all the trade news that are going about. But we will keep you guys updated as best we can in the Discord, in the playbooks, and here on the live show as news breaks. If you want to hit that like, that subscribe, that share button, it's a free way to support the work we do here over at Fantasy Alarm. It is much appreciated. Justin popping in early saying Jonas on the move. David saying what's up. Justin Jennings saying family. And Jerome in here saying good luck, loves the show. Well, we love you tuning in every day here, Jerome, as well. Man, storylines abundant here, James. Where do you want to start things off? Do you want to talk about the top price plays? Notably, Nikola Jokic now up to $12,800, or do we want to just dive into the positional breakdowns?
I think it is worth noting, you might just run into some bad luck here depending on who you play. Because as we've seen, there's been very unexpected trades. So we just got to try to navigate it. But, I would say, John, more than any day, depending on it's obviously bankroll dependent. These slates, like today, yesterday, and I was thinking about this a little bit today, is the best to do multi-entry stuff.
Sure.
Because if you're a single entry player, and again, it's bankroll dependent, it's your desire to do it, desire to build more lineups. I typically don't play more lineups because I don't have the time. Like with a family and post-lock, I don't want to be doing, my lineup construction all over again. But it does feel like multi-lineups with just complete different variations of players. No set core, nothing, because you just don't know who's going to get traded at this point with, Luka Doncic traded. We've said it a million times, but it really is anyone's on the table. So not a bad day to, tap into some multi-entry stuff.
Sure. I agree with you. And they have you and I, we play a lot of the $12 single entry, but I've talked to you about the $8 contest that DraftKings has out there where they've kind of fixed their pricing. That's out there. It's a pretty good spot. It pays about 25% of the field. So if you want to go get some lower entries, $8 buy-ins there, you can multi-enter that one as well. Shot Penny popping in, let them know, not tweeted yet after 5 p.m. Well, we got the midday downgrade. Probably not going to have Donovan Mitchell again. Grande keen on pointing that one out on the preview show that we may have somebody sit on the second leg of the back-to-back for Cleveland. Looks like that's going to be Donovan Mitchell based on the fact that we have not gotten his patented let him know tweet quite yet. Which we'll see what happens with that starting lineup. That game 7:00, so we will know whether he lets us know or not. We will know the starting lineup for Cleveland in that matchup against Detroit. Rolly saying happy hump day. JC saying what's good. And Mr. Polcash saying smash that like button. So I do appreciate, again, you guys in the chat. Point guard position brings us to Cade Cunningham, $10,500. Maxi's also $10K. No Joel Embiid. Paul George upgraded to doubtful, but we kind of assume still not going to play, but maybe a future game. We'll see Paul George activated or not. But again, we'll find out whether or not that is true here. Thoughts on that top tier? Trae Young, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Maxey, Cade Cunningham.
I think most of them are, if not all of them, are viable. We know Cade has a high ceiling. He's going to be low owned if that's the direction you want to go and you get a low owned Cade. There's an endless amount of money to get to anybody you want. There are 2 near min salary centers that are 1 fantasy point per minute players or better, right? So you can play anybody you want this evening. If Cade is that, or if Tyrese Maxey is that, or Anthony Edwards or Trae, I think all of them are viable. You and I have talked a lot about how good Tyrese Maxey has been. It has not mattered who is or isn't in the lineup for Tyrese Maxey. He's going to play 40 minutes. He's going to get up 20 shots. He's going to fill up the stat sheet, and he's going to score 30 actual. And that's just kind of what Tyrese Maxey does. So I love the Maxey play, just given what's in and what's out, but there's a case to be made for all 4. Like, Ant was everything you wanted from Ant the other day other than made shots. And
right.
He made shots, you get 35 actual, and Ant goes for 60, and this isn't even a discussion about how he didn't make shots the other day, because everything else was great. Peripheral stats were great, minutes were great, volume was great.
That game might have been a blowout if he made his shots, because Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid were making theirs. So
yeah, and like we mentioned on the pre-show, but he's coming off an illness, and obviously not listed on the injury report in this game, leads you to believe he is past that. So I think there is a case for all 4 of the top guys. I think Cade for me would probably be last, but also that's not an indictment on like Cade being a bad play. He gets Cleveland second leg of a back-to-back, possibly shorthanded without Donovan Mitchell. So I like all of them. Truthfully.
Yeah, it all kind of depends on how you want to go about building your lineup for today. From an ownership standpoint, there's obviously a lot of popular value on this slate, notably, the Toronto plays there, given who's out of their lineup. That's tending to get people to paying up at center tonight and not so much the guard. So you can get, relatively, lower rostered exposure to the point guards. Yep.
I am not so sure about that per the next update, because they have not, the update that we have is not include Rashawn Holmes being the starting center.
Yeah, that's fair.
And now you're going to have 2 centers that are $3,300 and $3,400 on this slate. Both fantasy point per minute players.
And it flips to now every paying up for like a Cade or something like that.
I don't know if it's Cade. I think it's going to be, my guess would be Giannis. Would be Giannis, because I don't think center is, like, we're going to get to center.
Yeah.
That is going to be another really difficult talking point, because now there's 2 almost stone cold mid centers, Jokic, Wemby, right? Like, that's a tough decision.
And the mid-tier actually has some really strong players.
And the mid-tier has great options.
Yeah.
But there are 2 almost min salary per 1 fantasy point per minute players going to start at center today.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think Cade is the one directly. Like, my guess would be we see Giannis and like Edwards and Maxey, probably the three guys that garner most of the ownership. Scotty Barnes is getting a lot now. I don't think that's going to go any lower given his positional eligibility. But when you look at the ownership based on where it is, like Valanciunas is still on the list, like in the top 15 or so players overall. So when that cycle runs and suddenly it's $3,400 Rashawn Holmes getting all the ownership, I'd be interested to see how the Wemby Jokic ownership is, because they're the two guys you were alluding to.
Yeah.
And those two, I just can't imagine would be as highly owned, or maybe Holmes eats into some Kelly Olynyk ownership. But I guess we'll talk about that when we get there. I don't think it goes to Cade. My guess would be Maxey and Edwards, and Trey is getting like some ownership. So like Cade's obviously your leverage of the top tier point guard.
Mid-tier group. John Morant's 9K, but against a depleted Toronto team. You get Lillard, you have Hero, Curry, and Fox in that 8K range.
Yeah, Ja's fine. Has a high ceiling. Same with Dame. Good ceiling. We'll see how they respond to the trades that they've made today. We don't know if Brolo's going to play. Brolo's downgraded to questionable. I think Hero is definitely solid. Looked really good, almost triple-doubled in a game he didn't make any shots in yesterday.
Okay.
Another guy with like 40-minute upside, so I like Hero. I'm fine with Steph. I think like he's 12%. That's like kind of on the higher end of the position today. It's a good spot. I know he's been bad. I know he has a ceiling. So like if you want to get there, you can. I probably wouldn't. And I think Fox, I don't know what to think of De'Aaron Fox, but what I think of De'Aaron Fox is he's going to start. Yep. He's going to be in a lot of action with Victor Wembanyama. That's De'Aaron Fox. Intellectually is a very smart person, because he said from the jump, I want to attach myself to that guy.
Right. Pick your play. And he's like, Wemby.
Well, that person is where I want to go. And they were like, well, we don't have leverage, so sure. And you know what? He's going to have a lot of fun, I'm sure. So
do you think Daniels is on him or Wemby in this game? Like, what do we think happens in that scenario?
I think you get Keegan Murray guarding Wemby would be my guess. Or you put Sabonis.
Wrong team.
Or yes, I don't know why I just said the Kings.
Well, because it's the Kings. That's reasonable.
I think Daniels guards Fox.
Okay.
And Okongwu Hunter if they start Hunter again. Yeah, depending on what they do, because they started Hunter last. Hunter might not even be a Hawk by the time the game starts. We don't know there.
All right. So Fox is the AK. CJ McCollum was great the other day. Jamal Murray was great the other day. You have Garland, who scored the ball really well against Boston last night. Now no Donovan Mitchell. You have the aforementioned Dyson Daniels and Giddey in that 7K tier. How much of Garland do you look to get? How much of Cleveland do you look to get if Mitchell's out?
Garland is very interesting. I know he was kind of poor yesterday, and I know the ownership will go up. The one thing I'd say is we've seen Cleveland in these spots sometimes limit guys, sometimes not, right? Like last back-to-back, 32, 36 minutes for Garland. 32, 36 minutes, the back-to-back before that, 32, 29, 26, 25. Like it's, but the numbers are great. 31% usage, 1.4 fantasy points per minute for Darius Garland, no Donovan Mitchell. So like those numbers are just flat out elite. I would definitely like that. And you talk about Garland versus Jamal Murray. Murray's the most popular point guard of the day. That is your most popular play as of right now of the day. And I think that's a great play. But if their ownership gap didn't change based on Donovan Mitchell not letting us know, then I would just play Darius Garland. I think either way you slice it, whether Mitchell's in or out, Jamal Murray plays more minutes. I'm almost like certain on that if the game stays close, because we've just given no reason to think Darius Garland would approach 40. And then McCollum is the probably most contrarian of the three. I don't think anyone's going to play CJM tonight. I also think there's probably like a scenario where on a night-to-night basis, you get like a down game from one of McCollum, Murphy, or Zion. Yeah. It's like a roulette wheel, right? Like one of them plays not poorly, but just, I mean, McCollum scored 30, Murphy scored 40, and Zion had a terrible game.
Yep.
The
and,
game
and
prior,
a game at a high game total.
Yes.
Nobody in New Orleans is over 10%, except right now, Yves Missi, which we assume will just go away once the Holmes ownership comes through. Maybe that bumps ownership for some other players because of that value there, but you're getting the other side of this 240 total basically at under 10%. And we talked about that last night. Didn't really come through with the Boston Cleveland side unless you played Jared Allen or Donovan Mitchell. But you played the other side where no one's playing those guys in a high game total. You can win yourself a tournament.
Right. Exactly.
So you have that 7K range. Again, there's some good plays here. Jordan Poole against Brooklyn now with no Kyle Kuzma. $6,500 for him.
And Valanciunas.
now.
And Sar.
Yep. So should be interesting to see where the points come from in that game. But Poole is going to take likely a lot of shots. Andrew Russell, the other side of him, with Ben Simmons active tonight. You have Kente George. We expect to be back in that starting lineup with Colin Sexton ruled out. That's your 6K guards.
Yeah, I just pay homage to Josh Giddey too, just with Lonzo out. I'd expect the minutes to go up if it's more competitive. Just no Lonzo, no.
Do we get a more traditional lineup? No Lonzo tonight? Like they go back to Patrick Williams?
Yeah, him or Bazulis.
Sure.
Would be the guess. Unless Javon Carter's cut walking through that door, right?
He did once.
He did that one time was a wild time. I think Jordan Poole is the one that stands out to me the most. Very high usage rate. No Kuzma, no Sar, no Valanciunas, no Bagley. 35.6% usage rate. It's a 7.5% bump. 1.6 fantasy points per minute. It's a very small sample. It's not like a noteworthy sample, but it is a sample nonetheless. So Jordan Poole would be the guy for me in that tier.
Yeah, I mean, obviously tough, some tough shooting games of late, but this is just sort of a different. No Kuzma, man. We're gonna go back to what we had earlier this year. We'll talk about Koulibaly, certainly somebody that we look at in at least earlier ownership. Champagny was getting some love, and we saw him be ridiculous earlier this season. So we'll see if all that holds up.
Coach Chris, don't think like that. You can't think like that.
Go swimming, Coach Chris. Go swimming.
I'm not saying you have to play Jordan Poole, but you have to like take the You're very good at this, and I'm not as good at this. But you have to take a player in a circumstance different than what it was. Like they don't have Alex Sar. They just traded the other two highest usage rate players on their team, right? Like, if that game is competitive, why do you think it's competitive? Like, it's Jordan Poole and his 36% usage rate is at the top of that list.
Yep. We're probably out on Castle now that Fox is in town. We have Isaiah Collier still going to start. We've talked about it. Now that he's making his shots, it just helps his ceiling. The assist numbers are already really good for him since he moved into that starting lineup. But if we're going to start getting, double-digit points, that means he's in double-double range, and obviously that helps what you can get. He's $5,200. Would you play Ben Simmons at 51?
No.
Okay. Just asking. What do we do with Brogdon?
Hope he gets traded so we don't have to play him.
Okay.
Hope he gets traded in the next hour and 38 minutes.
Say he doesn't get traded.
I pray that he will. I'm just praying that he will. I'm not even.
Is he in your player pool if he doesn't get traded?
I'm just ignoring that he won't. I'm just pretending like you. No. I don't know. I just can't imagine they would extend him with 1 day left of the deadline and like
keep his knee intact as long
the
as
most
possible.
fragile player in the NBA.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the starting five for sure. So I think Carrington would probably be extended before him. I think we probably just see low 20s minutes out of Brogdon.
Which Cav replaces Donovan Mitchell?
My guess would be Jerome, because also LeVert is in every trade rumor. That like the Cavs, all the trade rumors that involve the Cavs are Karis LeVert centered. So like if they go out and get DeAndre Hunter, Karis LeVert is on the other side. Now I don't think they're gonna get Hunter, but because I think that Hunter is probably in the Ingram trade if they get Ingram.
I was gonna say the Ingram thing is picking up steam.
So yeah, I mean he's seemingly going to end up in Toronto or Atlanta. That is seemingly like the Ingram destination, which I actually like both those spots for Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, I didn't like it last night. The more I think about the Atlanta.
I'd rather him in Atlanta.
Yeah, me too. I agree. But I do Ty Jerome. I think like in either scenario, we're talking about a guy with Donovan Mitchell, Wade, Okoro off the floor, 25% usage rate, which is second on the team. That's ahead of Evan Mobley. Yep. 1.2 fantasy points per minute, only trailing Darius Garland. So like you see it. Like anytime he's extended, the guy is a maniac. So I would like to see Ty Jerome start, and I would assume he would, but that's also you never know. We've seen LeVert start, we've seen Jerome start, so I assume I would go with Jerome, but we could see either guy start.
We had the question: if Alvarado was to sit, would you go at Hawkins or Boston?
Boston DMP'd last game. I know. Like he would probably re-enter the rotation, but do you think he would re-enter in a big enough role to play? And then Hawkins played 14 minutes. They gave, and you and I kind of talked about this, like they played Makovic a lot off the bench, and they played Javonte Green like 30 minutes. I'd assume like Jordan Hawkins would get run. You also got to factor they played Antonio Reeves over Brandon Boston last game. Not a lot, but like, wouldn't you? My assumption would be if they played Reeves last game, they would probably extend him over Brandon Boston in this game. But
yeah, I think Hawkins would be your option. But again, it's on. I also don't think you need to go there.
No, because they have their starting five: McCollum, Zion, Javonte Green, Murphy, Misi, all played 28 plus minutes. Makovic played 27, and then Alvarado played 22. But even if they disperse like they're not giving 22 straight minutes to Alvarado or to Hawkins. So like it's still not probably enough to get there when there is like more than enough value.
Grady Dick is cheaper than Jordan Hawkins. So like we'll go to shooting guard now. Let's another point guard you want to highlight. I guess Toronto.
Yeah.
Is it Davion or is it Shed?
I mean, I'd assume it's Davion. Just because I know Davion DMP'd, and
Chet had a good game.
That has not meant anything in the past, right? We have seen this story 1,000 times. Like, they have that guy played as the backup point guard, and he was great. So assume he's the start. Wait, they're not starting him?
He's been consistently better, like whenever extended this year than Davion Mitchell has been, and yet they will not ever actually start Jamal Shed.
So, I mean, look, I think there are multiple ways that this goes. I shouldn't even say I'm confident Davion's going to start because they didn't even start him yesterday. They started Jacoby Walter. So
they could go Bruce Brown for all we know.
They could go Bruce Brown. I mean, my assumption is your starting lineup for Toronto tonight is Scotty Barnes, Grady Dick, Kelly Olynyk, Davion Mitchell, Jacoby Walter. Possibly Agbaji, I think, would probably start over Brown and would probably start before Shed. But I am definitely interested in Shed, but I'm not interested because I assume he's going to start. He's just been good. He had a 28% usage rate yesterday, and he's been definitively playing
He's
well.
been better than Davion Mitchell's been. Like that's why
He has.
Crazy that they don't give him the opportunity.
I think where we look at it from a fantasy perspective, Davion Mitchell is, and Jamal Shedd's a good defender, but Davion's like considered a
he's just gonna have
perimeter defender.
Garland all day today.
Yeah, so
Or not Garland, Ja.
I assume we are going to get enough Jamal Shedd for it to matter, but I do think it's worth mentioning they don't start the guy. If they start him, he's going to be him. Kelly Olynyk are going to be the two highest roster players of slate, and there's nothing you can do about it. But it is worth mentioning. I don't think he starts. Hope he does. Don't think he does.
Agreed. We did get the Rashawn Holmes update. He's up to 17%.
So what was the hit? What was the hit we took? Was it the? I don't really know.
I almost feel like they just hot swapped Holmes and Valanciunas.
They did. They kind of did.
Because Jokic is still up there, not as high as he was, but still around 20%. Kelly O's still 50%. So I don't really. Actually, Wemby got a bump. So interesting. Well, still more time for that all to adjust. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen a guy skyrocket as we get closer to roster lock there. So shooting guard, again, we talked about a lot of these guys already. Edwards is up there. Mitchell's likely not playing. George likely not playing. Trey Murphy, back-to-back 40 bombs, 8 threes in back-to-back games. Guys got 21 threes in the last 3 games. We go through these moments with him where we say this guy might be the best shooter on in the league.
Nice.
And if there's going to be, obviously DeJounte is out for the year and they're trading Ingram, the usage rate consolidation is going to be there. And Denver's not a good defensive team, so fire away Trey Murphy.
And the minutes. I mean, just the minutes are just everything. 37, 38, 39, 39, 38. Doesn't come off the floor, plays big minutes. With or without Zion Williamson, takes a bunch of shots. I would say, and he said it, so I'll just quote him, just consistency, right? Trey Murphy was I want to be one of the best players in the league, but I need to be more consistent.
Yep.
Sure, he does. And when he does, he will be very good.
It's kind of funny when we talk about this almost in the same way we talked about Jalen Green recently. You get the big, huge games when he's knocking down his threes, and the days he's not hitting his threes, you get 35 fantasy points. Yep. It's the exact same thing. They're both going to take 20 shots. They're going to both approach 10 3-pointers. When they go 5 for 10, 8 for 10, they go for 40, 50 fantasy points. When they don't, you're in the mid-30s. Brook Lopez available to play tonight. So Travis with the Portis time. Would have liked it better without Brook Lopez available, unfortunately.
Yes.
I don't think he's getting the Middleton bump. So, all right. Other options at shooting guard. Oubre is someone we kind of always flock to. Now, again, the pricing continues to rise on him. Yes, he had a bad day yesterday, but different circumstances. The 30-minute limited Joel Embiid played 36 minutes and triple-doubled. So now you go back to Oubre with no George and no Embiid, and hey, he had back-to-back 40 fantasy point games and double-doubles and 20 actual points. That's basically what he's doing when Embiid and George are out of the lineup. So $6,800, not too scary for me here.
And you know what? No one's playing him.
Yep.
Because yesterday, even though he played 40 minutes,
41, 44, and 41.
Even though he gained small forward eligibility, because if you remember for that week or 2 weeks, he was shooting guard only. No one's playing him. And we've said it continuously. Him, Maxey, Yabusele, Justin Edwards are all going to play 40 minutes tonight. And then you're going to get whoever else is in. I don't know who. We don't even know who's in yet for Philly. Everyone else is questionable. Grimes questionable. Lowry questionable. So if all those guys are ruled out, Kelly Oubre is just playing four 10-minute shifts at the minimum. He might not come off the floor tonight. We might just run 2 Kelly O's tonight, John.
Good.
Double up the Kelly O's.
I believe. Did they fight each other when Kelly O was in Boston? I think there's a playoff matchup, Boston versus Washington.
I'm shocked Kelly Oubre has been in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it was when back when Washington actually was in there and Kelly O had a huge game. I think they got into a little bit of a scuffle, if I remember that correctly. So, again, not surprising. $6,800 for him. Other mid-tier options, Clarkson and Koulibaly, Braun. Basically, these three right here were three we keyed in on. Clarkson comes back into the lineup. Has been just firing away 4 straight games with 8 3-point attempts. Then he gets up to 35 minutes the other night. Now, there's maybe no Lauri Markkanen tonight. He is questionable. Colin Sexton already ruled out. So you got to assume we're getting around 30 minutes for Jordan Clarkson tonight, most likely here. How do you feeling about Clarkson at $5,600?
This is my leverage tonight. I've largely staked my my play in Jordan Clarkson as like leverage tonight because everyone's playing Christian Brown, as you mentioned. A lot of people are getting to block Koulibaly. I don't find that to be bad, like either of them bad plays. But there is definitive difference between those 3 players. Jordan Clarkson, Christian Brown, Bilal Koulibaly.
Is one a 30% usage rate player?
One of them is a 30% usage rate player. The other ones are not. Yeah. No matter who you take off the floor, those players are not Jordan Clarkson. Colin Sexton's already out. You mentioned possibly no Lauri Markkanen. We've said this for a while, and I keep looking at the numbers, Last 15 games, Golden State, 26th in defensive rating. Like, they are not a good defense. So my worry is obviously Jordan Clarkson is always live to be traded, but that you can say that for the last 3 years.
We have said it. We assumed every trade deadline Jordan Clarkson was on the move here. So Josh, maybe rightfully worried, but you know what?
Yeah, I mean, dude, but like anybody can, like, there's just so many.
Luka Doncic just got traded for Anthony Davis. Anybody could be traded.
There's so many trade rumors. Like, you're gonna like be too careful on who you pick and then not play somebody that doesn't get traded till tomorrow or just doesn't get traded at all. Like, I don't fully disagree with like the risk of like playing Jordan Clarkson, but that's also why when I opened the show or when we did our open, I said this is a great MME night because I'm not going to play. If I'm playing 5 lineups, I'm not playing all 5 Jordan Clarkson. I will have shares of Christian Brown. I love the Denver side of. I love Denver tonight, and obviously Washington's an appealing spot too. But like Clarkson is the best fantasy player of that group. Period. Like, period. I mean, he has as many minute upside as we just saw. He played 35 and closed both halves. So my leverage is Clarkson, and but like, yeah, sure. He may not get traded. And I don't think Isaiah Collier is bad. I also don't think Isaiah Collier, who didn't close over Jordan Clarkson, will play as many minutes as Jordan Clarkson if he's not traded. And I don't think he has nearly that as high a scoring ceiling as Jordan Clarkson either.
Yeah. Again, it's all about your preference, Josh. Like, if you're worried about the trade, like, totally understandable. Right. I would agree with you. Collier and Keontae George probably not getting traded. If you want to play them, like, that's fine. You think Keontae George might get traded. I don't think.
No, I don't. I think that there is nothing off the table for any singular team in the NBA if it doesn't include.
To be fair, the only names we've really heard of potentially on the move from Utah has been
John Collins.
John Collins and like Walker Kessler has been rumored, right? Like
Kessler to Lakers and John Collins to like everybody.
I haven't heard much of the guards, but anything is certainly possible there. We do get news that Fox will start, but Chris Paul also on track to play today. So I don't even know what that means.
I assume he's coming off the bench, but
yeah, I mean, I would assume he comes off the bench too, but probably not good for the rest of the Spurs guard rotation there. You mentioned Lake and Christian Brown. Obviously, again, an elite minutes play. Another guy when he's like hitting his shots or more shots, he showed you what his ceiling can be at a random double-double, but pretty good peripherally and just in general. So get some exposure to that. And then obviously Koulibaly back 40 fantasy points the other night. Work your way down into this low 5K tier. Malik Beasley, if he hits his threes, he'll continue to give you 6x return. We asked about Nick Smith this morning. Again, just a Hornets team that needs some offensive help.
Yeah, he is definitely contrarian pivot away from like some of the
Grady Dick, basically.
the Toronto stuff, because Toronto stuff is getting a lot of ownership.
And to Anthony's comment here in chat, optimizers across the industry are telling you to play the 4 value Toronto plays and spend up on Giannis or something like that, which
I think we both kind of
we basically like commented on that, Giannis or Jokic, depending on where you're going. But it's okay. We can play bad value if everybody else is sort of playing the value. And I don't even think necessarily that it's terrible value, but they are set to get blown out in that game. What else are we looking at as we work our way down shooting guard here?
I mean, I think like it's harder to get to Zaire Williams with people back. Cam Johnson not on the injury report there. Neither is D'Lo. He's playing. Don't love that. Nothing in Memphis is intriguing. No Moses Moody. Does Pajemski get upgraded to like mid to high 20s minutes? It's impossible to ever tell what Golden State's going to do.
I wanted to take his point prop today. It was like 9.5.
And then they ruled Moody out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's just tough to like.
Because he's not playing a ton of minutes usually, but he is at least efficient, like hitting his threes right now. So like, I didn't take it. I probably should have, just like I should have taken the Hachimura threes last night.
Yeah, the Hachimura threes.
Didn't do that one either. Just knocked him down in the first quarter.
I do think Grady Dick is the move, 4,200. He has been really good per minute with the guys out. 26% usage over a fantasy point per minute. I like it. I mean, he's going to play 30 minutes. Obviously, not like giving you a massive ceiling, but the production's been very
earlier
solid.
this season. He was though. He was 30 plus fantasy points out of him. Earlier this season when, now granted they were without a lot of plays, and sometimes it was just Grady Dick on the floor.
Well, they're down 3 starters tonight. So a lot of plays is tonight, right? Similar to what you're talking about, like earlier in the year.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a path to him. He's already paying off just in the last couple of days, a $4,200 price tag. But if he went for 30 fantasy points tonight and gives you like 8X, I would not be stunned. Again, the field is also playing him. So we're not giving you some like secret diamond in the rough play here. It's a 40% rostered Grady Dick. So if you don't play him and he goes for 40 fantasy points, probably on the outside looking in on the cash line there. Anything else here at shooting guard?
Yeah, Jacoby Walter, 3,200, shooting guard, small forward. Look, he started. He played 29 minutes last night. This is a guy who has like had a near 30 actual point game this year. It's what he was known coming into the draft as, an offensive player first. So he's fine. I mean,
the defensive numbers are pretty good on the per minute basis.
Yeah, per minute he's been. He hasn't been the best like per minute player in general, but if he's going to start and get anywhere near 30 minutes, and you have to assume, like if this game or when this game gets out of hand, like Jacoby Walter is on the floor. He has much more incentive to play Jacoby Walter than most of the other guys we've brought up.
I would agree. Matovic over Holmes with no Tice. That's what Grande actually mentioned. If Tice was out, he liked the Matovic play there. Josh, we got to see the starting lineup before we do Walter versus Shed. I don't think we can play Shed if he's not starting, because then there's a 10-minute floor potentially for him there.
I think you can. I disagree about playing him, but I don't. Obviously, I prefer if he started.
If he doesn't start, would you be stunned if he all of a sudden played 15 minutes tonight because they go Bruce Brown like guard play?
It doesn't, and I think this is probably trade deadline stuff. Like the Bruce Brown minutes seemingly are gone.
True. I mean, he was a name mentioned as a possible trade candidate.
So. Yeah, I mean, I think like just keeping him safe and healthy.
Anthony, he was the cover of the show today, so preview show. So we're definitely all in on Trey Murphy there.
Oh, and by the way, Anthony, congrats! Anthony left a comment today on our pre-show and said he had a late slate takedown.
Love it. Love the late slate takedown for you there, Anthony. Build that bankroll. Come in here and is your team made a move. You traded KJ Martin. Right? Pending trade.
Salary relief.
A lot of teams made some salary relief moves here today. Jaden
This
Springer got
apron
traded from the Celtics.
This apron that people are trying to get into is obviously like the most important thing in the NBA because everyone
is pay the luxury tax.
Do not want to pay the luxury tax. Yeah.
All right, small forward. Would you play Scotty Barnes today in the matchup against Memphis?
I'm definitely a little against the field here. I'm probably going to be lower than the field, who has, I guess the ownership has come down a little bit on Scotty Barnes.
13%. So it was higher earlier. It's since diminished.
I'd probably still be under the field. I'd rather take a shot on the low-priced Raptors that I'm more confident that will pay off their price tags.
A lot of these guys we've talked about already, they have dual positional eligibility. Andrew Wiggins, $6,800. Cam Johnson, $6,600 against Washington. I don't know what you'd think he'd play. McDaniel, 65, Porter, 64, a good range of options here.
Yeah, all those other guys they just are not Michael Porter. You mentioned Michael Porter at the end. That's my guy. In this range, he's played 40 minutes. I've talked to you about this like extensively the last few slates. Just with how shorthanded Denver is, Michael Porter is not the Michael Porter earlier in the month in the year when he's getting taken off the floor for defense. They don't have those options. Like Michael Porter's playing 40 minutes. He played 40 minutes 2 games ago with Aaron Gordon. He played 40 minutes last game without Aaron Gordon. So with or without Aaron Gordon, which the status is still undetermined, he's going to play 40 minutes. Had a 29.5% usage rate last game, obviously 36 actual, took 22 shots. Same matchup. I mean, again, I'm not sitting here saying Michael Porter is going to score 36 actual again, but it's a coverage thing that when, you double Jokic, you get Michael Porter open a lot more often than when you're just other teams that are playing Jokic one-on-one. They don't sag off shooters. Like Porter made a lot of threes the other day. That's what he does. So you're going to get 40 minutes out of Michael Porter, then that's just going to be my guy in a dream spot. So that's I think he is the best of that tier. You could definitely play some of them. I don't think Cam Johnson would be that because it just hasn't played in 2 weeks. I don't know.
I was going to say, just off the injury report now, like what do we expect?
Mid-20s minutes probably.
And JD McDaniels has been a guy that you and I have been highlighting a lot, but the price bump now all the way up to $6,500. But 41 and 56 fantasy points. I mean, there's really good matchups against Washington and Sacramento. Chicago is going to present another really good matchup for him. No Randall, you highlighted it. The one thing that he brings you that Michael Porter Jr. doesn't is defense. And if he's going to score the way Michael Porter Jr. has scored lately as well, like to me, McDaniels has a little bit of the edge there.
Yeah, I mean, that's your leverage because Michael Porter Jr. is much more popular.
Sure. Yeah, people aren't believing, but dude, 5 stocks in back-to-back games there.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously been great. Undoubtedly, the minutes have been great too, and the matchup is great. You just need the Bulls to stay competitive in that one.
Yep. Ooh, Paul George now upgraded to questionable.
Wow.
So if we get fast. Paul George at 8,200, let's wind it back because now it's seeming like Paul George is playing.
I don't think Oubre is viable at 68. I think that's harder. That's much harder. Andre Drummond out.
Yeah, Eric Gordon in, Kyle Lowry in, Drummond out, George disgusting. Now questionable.
It's disgusting.
But you've been championing the Paul George, no Embiid. It's just a finger.
He's been good. He's been really good.
Where does PG now rank for you at $8,200 among sort of that 8K tier? Because that includes, like Zion's in that range, Murphy is in that range, Mobley, who I know we were going to talk about, in that range. Is like, do you put Paul George over anyone there?
Probably like I don't love the usage stuff without Donovan Mitchell for Mobley is not appealing. It goes down. We don't know what the Fox is going to be good. So you could Murphy probably similar. Definitely not Vooch. I hate this Vooch spot. I don't know what the minutes even look like before the
Also
trade
could be
deadline.
traded.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to look like pre-trade deadline. I'm confident in Paul George minutes versus Zion. Yeah, I rank Paul George, especially at small forward. He's second highest price small forward. I put him right on the same tier as Trey Murphy. I mean, he's the one guy that's going to be extended that isn't playing a second leg of a back-to-back.
Officially a game time decision, and unfortunately 7:30 start time. So
yeah, we have
7:01. We're going to know whether or not Paul George is playing. So you kind of have to build with the pivots involved, which I guess would be Murphy if you wanted to make that swap. But we kind of like Murphy as it is. But I agree with you. I don't know. Maybe you make it so that's $1,400 that you can't even really plug Oubre and then move up to George unless you're really saving some money somewhere. So definitely
it would be Murphy. It would probably be like Trey Murphy, right? Like you would play Trey Murphy and then
but then you wouldn't even really want to do that. I don't think, right? You'd rather just play Murphy.
Yeah, you'd rather just play Murphy.
All right. Value small forwards. Anybody for you?
We talked about a lot of them. DeAndre Hunter's getting a lot of ownership. I assume that has to do with him starting last game. He had no peripheral stats, 0. But obviously
0, 20 points.
Yeah, 20 points. So if you want to you can. Riche, I think, is fine at 45. Pat Will at 45 should probably be in the starting lineup. I think the Philly stuff is probably all kind of dead with Paul George upgraded. If Bruce Brown starts, obviously you'd play him, but I don't think that's reliable at all. The field's getting to Keyshawn George at 39. We've done this song and dance a bajillion times. He is just not a good fantasy player. So I don't think
one day.
One day.
One day against Golden State, he knocked down 7 threes.
One day, I'm sure.
Grimes will not debut tonight. So
okay. I mean, that's honestly, it makes things easier. We'll see on Washington and Justin Champagnie, because if Justin Champagnie is in the lineup, we'd probably consider that. But we gotta.
I mean, we saw what he did earlier this year. I mean, he was so what did he get up to? Did he get up to 6? Just mid 5s was his point there. But he was putting up some huge numbers, in this range right here for us earlier this year when he was playing over 30 minutes. So
yeah, really good rebounder, can score.
Yep. All right, power forward. Giannis is 11-8. He's in. Everybody's in. Got a matchup against Charlotte. It's an elite spot. Averaging 62 against them in 2 games. Just plays. Blowouts or not, he's just going to play the game.
Yeah, they've been pretty bad. So I don't know if they're going to blow him out. Probably emotional day for Giannis too, just given how long he's spent with Chris Middleton.
Yeah. Just want to comment on this, Jim. It's the Memphis is going to have everybody back today.
Yes, not confirmed, but if all those guys are back, it's just.
Yeah, I would not touch anybody on Memphis outside of John, Jaren, and Jackson probably.
Yeah, it's tough, very tough to get to.
All right, so Giannis is there, great play. Anthony wants to know if Bridges is in a tough spot against Milwaukee.
He is, but Milwaukee's been kind of bad defensively lately. They're obviously top 10 overall, but they've been scuffling a little bit. He's been good. I mean, he's been undoubtedly good. I said on the show last night, I don't think he's going to triple-double, but he has a massive usage rate with everyone out.
Yeah. Zion, Jackson, Mobley in that 8K tier. You said you were less in on Mobley today without Donnie Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, the usage rate goes down. I don't like when a star player is removed on the floor, and Paul George was upgraded to questionable, Clem. So we are possibly getting the return of Paul George.
Yeah, they just now updated him. We also just got an ownership update, and as we expected, Rashawn Holmes is now up to 30%. Kelly O 45, Holmes 30, and then you still have Wemby and Jokic around 20%. So those are the lineups that are just picking one of Holmes and Olynyk, and then just playing the other spend up option basically.
So Mobley's usage rate goes down, which I don't like. 1.2 fantasy points per minute, that's fine. But I'd rather probably play Zion in a 40% usage rate for like slightly fewer minutes and likely higher production. So like Zion, I'd give the edge to. Could definitely go back to the Bam well as well. He somehow got there last night after a really pedestrian start. Had a really good finish to that game.
Got way better than it was when we were recording. He hit like 4 straight shots. But even then, I mean, 38 fantasy points isn't necessarily getting there, but the 23 actual was a good look at least.
Yeah, exactly 5x. He got us exactly 5x. You get 2 more rebounds at the price he is right now, and you're talking like he's well over.
Yep, agreed. So you have that there. John Collins, 6,700. Again, I understand could be traded, but also a really good spot for John Collins at a nice price tag here. Now, Naz Reid's more popular, obviously.
Yep.
But I do like some John Collins, I think, in tournaments.
I think that's funny. I think it's funny that, like, you look at some of the ownerships for Utah, and, like, John Collins is 13%, but Jordan Clarkson's 3%.
Yeah.
It's like those two are equally as likely to get traded.
And one person's name has definitely been in the rumors.
Literally was almost traded to Sacramento. So, I like Collins.
Which I guess makes sense on the Valanciunas trade now, right? They try to get Collins, couldn't get Collins. Now they added Valanciunas instead.
There's been quotes since that trade that they're going to play Valanciunas and Sabonis together in lineups.
Sabonis was a 4 with the Pacers.
He was. So, and a lot of the double big is back, baby. Double big is back. It's coming around. I like Collins in tournaments. He is definitely significantly lower owned than Naz Reid. Collins is your obvious pivot from Naz Reid. Also, Finger was fine for Naz Reid.
Gigi's taking over ball handling duties.
I mean, he's a good offensive player. He plays on the ball a lot, but like he's not.
If they have Smart back and Vince Williams back and like everybody, like it's just very different. I'd rather wait and see Josh than play Gigi and watch him play 18 minutes tonight or something like that. I just don't.
If everyone's back, it's hard to get to anything.
Yeah. I know we go with you with this a lot, Josh. I think you're a FanDuel player and you try to find some deep value often on your slates to kind of help do the double spending. I just think that there's just a lot of risk involved. Like I'd rather play Bazulis 4K or Ricochet at 45. Again, I get this is DraftKings, but like feel better about those spots I do than Gigi Jackson.
Agreed.
Any other value? Power forwards? Jovic, who's someone we should talk about. Again, he was on the floor. They went triple big last night at one point. Bam, Ware, and Jovic all on the floor at the same time.
Basically the whole fourth quarter, right? They just ran those three. If you're gonna get that type of, it's impossible to know when Spoelstra's gonna do it. But if you have a crystal ball and see that he's gonna play that many minutes, then yeah, he's in play.
Yeah, and then of course Matis became one of 6 rookies ever to have a perfect 10 for 10, and he was the only ever to shoot a 3-point attempt during that. So the other rookies who went 10 for 10 all were at the rim. Matis went 4 for 4 from 3. So,
I mean, there's no reason to believe that 31 minutes aren't not doubled, but repeated again, right? Because they're down one more player in Lonzo.
Mm-hmm.
THT's out again. And we're less than 24 hours from a trade deadline that Vucevic, Kobe White are heavily involved in, right? Yeah. And Lonzo heavily involved in. These players aren't going to play a lot. And then if the game blows out, you don't think Matas Bazulis is going to be on the floor either? There's a ton of scenarios where 31 minutes becomes 34, 35 tonight. And I don't really care all that much about matchup if we're just going to get this guy opportunity where it is at his salary. right? Like it's just he's not going to go 10 for 10 again, but the opportunity is going to be there.
Agreed. Anybody else at power forward for you?
You mentioned Richeche. We mentioned him at small forward. Like that's in play. Yabusele, we didn't talk about. He's in play.
Yeah.
Put
up really good numbers, even with JoJo yesterday. So
that's probably it.
All right, center. Again, Jokic, 12-8. People are playing him or Wemby. 20% of the field currently getting to Jokic and Wemby. You can certainly play either if you want. But as we've highlighted, the two highest rostered players are also at center all the way down here. You have Kelly Olynyk at $3,300. You have Rashawn Holmes at $3,400. Do you want to talk about the bottom or the top first?
So I think we can group it all together.
Okay.
Because there is obvious a way that you're going to be really chalky is you just plug Olynyk and you plug Holmes and you move on, right? I think a lot of lineups will look like that, where you're just plugging those two and you're moving on. I think, because I don't see why you wouldn't in a like a single entry. You're just plugging and you're moving on. But I think then there's the case where a lot of people are sitting also, the other half of the field is saying, let me play one of the two values and then one of the two spend ups. And I think that's the approach that I want to personally take. I am all in on Nikola Jokic every slate. And in a game with 240 implied points and in a game that has a shortened Denver team, I'm going to just keep playing Jokic. So there's two approaches. Jokic slash Wemby, Jokic or Wemby, and double punting center, or one of the double punt center, or double punt center with Holmes and Olynyk, and then you move on. But, Washington could start Tristan Vukcevic tonight, and you wouldn't be surprised, right?
No,
and
certainly wouldn't.
Toronto could just be weird and start Jonathan Mobo and be weird. So barring that those two players start, I think there's a viable approach to double centering. I think double center is the way to go. First off, let me just blanket statement. On DraftKings, double center is the decision, right? Is the decision. If you are mass multi-entering, you could be different and not play two of them in some of the lineups. But I do think those two salaries and getting to Jokic and or Wemby makes a ton of sense. So
if you're picking one of the value plays today, which one do you prefer, Olynyk or Holmes?
So Olynyk is better per minute this year, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. I am a little more confident in Washington keeping it more competitive, though.
Sure.
Right? So I guess it just depends on your outlook on games and what you think would happen in these two games. Brooklyn is on the second leg of a back-to-back. Washington is terrible. Maybe the worst team in NBA history, right? They're trending towards that.
Lost 30 games in a row last year.
Well, I think the Wizards are on pace to possibly be the worst team in the NBA. Okay. They lost 6. They won the other day, but they had lost 16 straight before that. So, just depending on your opinion on the game, I think at the end of the night, Holmes plays more minutes than Kelly Olynyk. So if you view it from that perspective, then I would go Rashawn Holmes. But Kelly Olynyk, if that game does stay competitive, then Kelly Olynyk is probably the higher scorer. So it just simply depends on how you view Memphis-Toronto.
Vasily Micic is out tonight for Charlotte. More value.
KJ Simpson is going to play a bunch of minutes. So what the boy from Cali just said is accurate on the Toronto front. He did. I think that there were a few factors here. One, Toronto was getting absolutely waxed in the first half. getting absolutely waxed. Kelly Olynyk started the second half. They put in the subs, and they made a run. And we've seen this before. Do you remember the Pistons did that? And the Pistons lost by 5, and we're like, why did Cade only play 20 minutes? Whatever. There's been games where coaches just ride the hot hand. That was more of a hot hand approach than it was Jonathan Mobo closing over Kelly Olynyk. So he did close over Kelly Olynyk, but that unit kept them competitive. Jamal Shed kept them competitive, and Scotty and Grady Dick were the only true starters closing in that one. So I'm a little, if the game's competitive, I'm a little skeptical that Olynyk wouldn't close. But if you do think it's a blowout, well, then Mobo is going to play all the minutes anyway.
Agreed. All right, let's go to the mid-range again. Everyone's spending up or spending down, but there are some mid-tier options for us at the center spot. Again, you can play Naz Reid here. Jared Allen at $6,600 without Mitchell. Does that one become more appealing for you?
1.15 fantasy points per minute. Definitely solid.
Okay. Any other centers in this mid-range that you're looking to play?
I mean, I'm not looking to play any of them. So if you are, you can talk to them.
Well, I mean, I think that there's some viable plays. Again, we talked Naz Reid. I think you play Khalil Ware at 62. Again, I like Claxton on the other side of that Washington matchup. Again, Washington against centers has been pretty poor all season long. So if you aren't looking to spend, or you're just looking to differ your exposure, that certainly can be a way to go about doing it. But again, of course, everyone is spending down or they're spending all the way up. I guess let's just talk about your other value center. I mean, you highlighted Carlo on the show this morning. I mean, no Tice now. Is he a play for you?
I mean, he's contrarian. He's not going to start. He's going to come off the bench. There's minutes at both forward and center to be had because they traded Tice and they didn't play JRE the other day. So yeah, I mean, he's fine. I mean, realistically, he probably has the same minute ceiling as Kelly Olynyk does. Okay. I don't think Kelly Olynyk plays 30 minutes tonight. So if Makovic plays near 30, then I think he's viable, but I'd still lean the other two over him.
Okay. All right. Well, let's build a lineup then. You wanted to go Jokic and Holmes, I think.
Anthony, I would say is a bold move only because I don't like having a 7 p.m. guy in the util. So you just want to alter your lineup a little bit there. Just you want to, if you can get the later exposure in the util, that would be the direction. Also, if you're not that means you're not double centering. So that might be something to revisit as well.
Sure. All right. $5,600. We like Grady Dick as well. At shooting guard, $5,900. You're Michael Porter at 64. Let's see. $5,800. Good. Nas. 56. You think Simpson? Would you play Simpson?
I think Simpson starts. Him or Isaiah Wong are probably your, but I'd assume it would be Simpson would be.
Obviously the minutes for him have been pretty good just in general.
Yeah, the minutes have been good. He just hasn't made a shot in a month.
Well, that would give you 63. Let's see. Point guard. We mentioned Collier, 52, 58, 50. Let's see. What did we want to do? I'm playing Collier, so we'll stay there. If you had to pick Koulibaly or Braun, do you have a lean? Or would you rather go Poole in this spot?
I would rather go C. Clarkson, but you're also playing Collier. So Christian Brown, but yeah.
And then $6,200. Brown can play either position, so could still just be Koulibaly at that point, honestly.
Sure.
All right. We'll go there. That's a little fair and balanced build. We got $700 left over, so you could make some moves if you wanted to. See, 59 doesn't really get us where we need to go there, but Collier, Dick, Porter Jr., Reed, Holmes, Brown, Koulibaly, and putting Jokic down there at 12-8. Just as an example lineup for tonight's main slate. We do appreciate you all. Again, remember to stay by your computers, your phones, your updates, because trades could still happen. Roster lock at 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be back tomorrow. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you.